Planet Day Soul Rants here.
And to regard his way of life as being intrinsically more rational, or at least more functional, than mine. I said that his words had plunged me into a terrible conflict, because they entailed my having to change my feelings. To illustrate my point, I told Don Juan the story of an old man of my culture, a very wealthy conservative lawyer who lived his life convinced that he upheld the truth. In the early 30s, with the advent of the New Deal, he found himself passionately involved in the political drama of that time. He struggled for 10 years in the political arena and in the realm of his personal life. Then, when the Second World War sealed his efforts into total defeat, his political and ideological downfall resulted in profound bitterness. He became a self-exile for 25 years. The last time I saw him, he had concluded our conversation with the following. I have had time to turn around and examine my life. The issues of my time are today only a story, not even an interesting one. Perhaps I threw away years of my life, chasing something that never existed. I've had the feeling that I believed in something farcical. I think I know that. However, I can't retrieve the 40 years I've lost. I told Don Juan that my conflict arose from the doubts into which his words about controlled folly had thrown me. If nothing really matters, I said, upon becoming a man of knowledge, one would find oneself, perforce, as empty as my friend and in no better position. That's not so. Your friend is lonely because he will die without seeing.
Yeah.
In his life, he just grew old, and now he must have more self-pity than ever before. He feels he threw away 40 years because he was after victories and found only defeats. He'll never know that to be victorious and to be defeated are equal. So now you're afraid of me because I've told you that you're equal to everything else. You're being childish. Our lot as men is to learn, and one goes to knowledge as one goes to war. I have told you this countless times. One goes to knowledge or to war with fear, with respect, aware that one is going to war, and with absolute confidence in oneself. Put your trust in yourself, not in me. And you're so afraid of the emptiness of your friend's life. But there's no emptiness in the life of a man of knowledge. I tell you, everything is filled to the brim. Don Juan stood up and extended his arms as if feeling things in the air. Everything is filled to the brim, and everything is equal. I'm not like your friend who just grew old. When I tell you that nothing matters, I don't mean it the way he does. For him, his struggle was not worth his while, because he was defeated. For me, there is no victory or defeat or emptiness. Everything is filled to the brim, and everything is equal, and my struggle was worth my while. In order to become a man of knowledge, one must be a warrior, not a whimpering child. One must strive without giving up, without complaint, without flinching, until one sees, only to realize then that nothing matters. Don Juan stirred the pot with a wooden spoon. The food was ready. He took the pot off of the fire and placed it on an adobe rectangular block, which he had built against the wall and which he used as a shelf or table. With his foot, he shoved 2 small boxes that served as comfortable chairs, especially if one sat with his back against the supporting beams of the wall. He signaled me to sit down, and then he poured a bowl of soup. He smiled. His eyes were shining as if he were truly enjoying my presence. He pushed the bowl gently towards me.
Know how to take a hint. Knowing how to reason was once the art of arts. It is no longer enough. One must also be a diviner, especially in matters where you can easily be deceived. You will never be intelligent unless you know how to take a hint. Some people are diviners of the heart and sharp-eyed lynxes of others' intentions. The truths that matter most to us are always half-spoken, fully understood by the prudent. In matters that seem favorable, rein in your credulity. In those that seem hateful, Give it the spur. Be well informed. The discreet arm themselves with a store of courtly, tasteful learning, not vulgar gossip, but a practical knowledge of current affairs. They salt their speech with wittisms, and their action with gallantry, and know how to do so at the right moment. Advice is sometimes transmitted more successfully through a joke than through grave teaching. The wisdom passed along in conversation has meant more to some than the seven arts, no matter how liberal.
There was such a warmth and kindness in his gesture that it seemed to be an appeal to restore my trust in him. I felt idiotic. I tried to disrupt my mood by looking for my spoon, but I couldn't find it. The soup was too hot to be drunk directly from the bowl, and while it cooled off, I asked Don Juan if controlled folly meant that a man of knowledge could not like anybody anymore. He stopped eating and laughed. You are too concerned with liking people or with being liked yourself. A man of knowledge likes, that's all. He likes whatever or whoever he wants, but he uses his controlled folly to be unconcerned about it. The opposite of what you are doing now. To like people, what have you? He stared at me for a moment, with his head tilted a little to one side. Think about that, he said. There is one more thing I want to ask, Don Juan. You said that we need to look with our eyes to laugh, but I believe we laugh because we think. Take a blind man. He also laughs. No, blind men don't laugh. Their bodies jerk a little with the ripple of laughter. They have never looked at the funny edge of the world and have to imagine it. Their laughter is not roaring. We did not speak any more. I had a sensation of well-being, of happiness. We ate in silence. Then Don Juan began to laugh. I was using a dry twig to spoon the vegetables into my mouth. At a certain moment today, I asked Don Juan if he minded talking a little bit more about seeing. He seemed to deliberate for an instant. Then he said that I was trying to talk instead of doing. If you want to see, you have to let the smoke guide you. I won't talk to you about this anymore. I was helping him clean some dry herbs. We walked in complete silence for a long time. When I am forced into prolonged silence, I always feel apprehensive, especially around Don Juan. At a given moment, I brought up a question to him in a sort of compulsive, almost belligerent outburst. How does a man of knowledge exercise controlled folly when it comes to the death of a person he loves? I asked. Don Juan was taken aback by my question and looked at me quizzically. Take your grandson Lucio, I asked. Would your acts be controlled folly at the time of his death? Take my son Eulalio. That's a better example. He was crushed by rocks while working in the construction of the Pan American Highway. My acts toward him at the moment of his death were controlled folly. When I came down to the blasting area, he was almost dead, but his body was so strong that it kept on moving and kicking. I stood in front of him and told the boys in the road crew not to move him anymore. They obeyed me and stood there, surrounding my son, looking at his mangled body. I stood there too, but I did not look. I shifted my eyes so I would see his personal life disintegrating, expanding uncontrollably beyond its limits, like a fog of crystals, because that is the way life and death mix and expand. That is what I did at the time of my son's death. That's all one could ever do, and that is controlled folly. Had I looked at him, I would have watched him becoming immobile, and I would have felt a cry inside of me, because never again would I look at his fine figure facing the earth. I saw his death instead, and there was no sadness, no feeling. His death was equal to everything else. Don Juan was quiet for a moment. He seemed to be sad, but then he smiled and tapped my head. So you may say that when it comes to the death of a person I love, my controlled folly is to shift my eyes. I thought about the people I love myself, and a terribly oppressive wave of self-pity enveloped me. Lucky you, Don Juan, I said. You can shift your eyes, while I can only look. He found my statement funny and laughed. Lucky bull. It's hard work. We both laughed. After a long silence, I began probing him again, perhaps only to dispel my own sadness. If I have understood you correctly, then, Don Juan, I said, the only acts in the life of a man of knowledge which are not controlled folly are those he performs with his ally or with Mescalito. Isn't that right? That's right. My ally and Mescalito are not on par with us human beings. My controlled folly applies only to myself and to the acts I perform while in the company of my fellow men. However, it is a logical possibility, I said, to think that a man of knowledge may also regard his acts with his ally or with Mescalito as controlled folly. True? He stared at me for a moment. You're thinking again. A man of knowledge doesn't think. Therefore, he cannot encounter that possibility. Take me, for example. I say that my controlled folly applies to the acts I performed while in the company with my fellow men. I say that because I can see my fellow men. However, I cannot see through my ally, and that makes it incomprehensible to me. So how could I control my folly if I don't see through it? With my ally, or with Mescalito, I am only a man who knows how to see, and finds that he's baffled by what he sees. A man who knows that he'll never understand all that is around him. Take your case, for instance. It doesn't matter to me whether you become a man of knowledge or not. However, it matters to Mescalito. It obviously matters to him, or he wouldn't take so many steps to show his concern about you. I can notice his concern, and I can act toward it, yet his reasons are incomprehensible to me. End of chapter 5. Please share your thoughts about controlled folly in the comments below in this video. And if this is your first...
Now let's learn about inorganic beings, or emotional energy vampires. That sounds pretty interesting, doesn't it? Inorganic beings, not organic beings, or emotional energy vampires.
And inorganic beings, a deeper look. In my first video about inorganic beings, I gave a brief explanation of some of their traits and talked about where they are likely to be found. I mentioned how to attract them, identify them, and engage one. I will post a link to that short 2-minute video in the info section of this YouTube video. This time we find out where they come from and how long they have been.
Flat Earth asshole rants here.
And why a person would want to pursue one. Also, I will describe some of the various different kinds of inorganic beings, providing bonus information about their dynamics, plus how and why to catch one. Stay tuned for the surprise ending of our macabre and legendary history with these beings. The concept of inorganic beings was first published by Carlos Castaneda in 1968. I will be citing his works for the majority of this video, and I can personally verify that most people would agree with Castaneda's description when faced with, firstly, where do they come from and how long have they been here? According to shamanistic knowledge, inorganic beings were stumbled upon by ancient cultic shamans in South America over 10,000 years ago. This is thought to have happened by accident with the use of psychotropic drugs, a notion that I can appreciate, since psychotropics have proven themselves to expand perception to indescribable states. The ancient shamans had no problem interacting with the inorganic beings, because they possess the crucial ingredient for interaction: consciousness. Some of those shamans befriended dozens of inorganic beings, and even called them allies, because some of their allies did have useful purposes. I may refer to these inorganic projections as allies throughout the video. Those ancient shamans were actually just interacting with projections of the real inorganic being. The shaman's allies' real world is a gigantic blob of caverns and pores, floating in some dark space across the cosmos. The actual bodies of the allies exist there, like a framework, as a massive series of hollow canes bound together, like the cells of our bodies. The ancient shaman called this immense bundle of inorganic beings the labyrinth of penumbra. So allies do have bodies as real as you and me. You have the hollow cane-like structures that make up the labyrinth, and also a shadowy kind of upkeep and maintenance inorganic being, which roams the halls and regulates energy there. Another manifestation of the labyrinth of penumbra is what is called the emissary. The emissary is experienced as a voice that is heard mostly by people who are lucid dreaming or even astral traveling. The emissary can be helpful by providing information, for it is incapable of telling a lie. However, its ultimate purpose is that of a salesman, trying to entice whoever can hear the emissary to come and live in the labyrinth of penumbra permanently, having shelter and a nearly everlasting life in exchange for that person's energy. The life of organic beings is normally short-lived because they are made to hurry, whereas the life of inorganic beings is infinitely longer, lasting millions or even billions of years, because their consciousness is infinitely more calm and deeper. So the ancient shaman mostly interacted with the projections of the structure-like inorganic beings. These beings can apparently astral project here to Earth and are most easily perceived at night, but basically invisible to the eyes. They are here on Earth to form associations and search for energy. Allies do sometimes materialize invisibly in broad daylight. Their invisible presence is marked by a bodily jolt, a shiver that comes from the marrow of the bones. Allies are not capable of physically harming a person here in normal reality without the help of a shaman. They are more or less like a ghost. They can, however, startle you and cause you to trip and fall. While organic beings have features such as metabolism and reproduction, etc., allies, which are a tension-like force with awareness, have characteristics unique to them. Characteristics like emotional dependency. Allies absorb emotional energy like food, love, hatred, sadness, and raw animal fear, which is their favorite. Shaman of ancient times knew this, and often used to feed their allies by scaring people to death. The allies materialized visually with the help from their shaman, then assumed a beastly form and would scare people, feeding off of the emotional energy released from their fear. Those shaman used to seek the allies' ethereal quality, while the allies seek the greater energy field of mankind. It is possible to exchange energy with the allies, and both parties can profit. Allies can use the energy to materialize themselves and more, while people can calm their energy in the exchange and extend their lives. Energy exchange can have a drawback. Exchanges can form a dependency on both parties. Useful allies, which unfortunately are rare, make fabulous scouts, guardians, and they can make us strong and powerful, and have a few things to teach us. If we exchange energy with a useless inorganic being, of which there are many, we may be stuck with it. So it's a gamble to go for. I am still deciding if I should go for it or not. There is an ally waiting for me, but so do we all have one. According to shamanistic knowledge, inorganic beings outnumber organic beings in the universe. Therefore, there are enough of them with nothing better to do than wait around and match up with us. There are a number of ways to engage an ally. You could track down one in the forest and tackle it there to catch a random ally, or another way is to summon one to the Earth by opening a portal. You are more likely to get a useful ally if you let one through a portal, because that ally can scope you out from their world first and choose you before they come through. Firstly, meeting an ally and engaging one takes personal power, or saved energy. If you encounter an ally and it seems restless or agitated, then you probably do not have enough energy to engage it. And if the ally is calm and observing you, then that is a good sign that you are ready to engage it. In order to exchange energy with the ally, you need to tackle it. Tackling an ally is no small endeavor. First, you must keep your mouth shut tightly, because the jolt of grabbing an ally is so great that one might bite off one's tongue or crack their teeth from their mouth clamping down so forcefully. Allies release what is like a strong electrical charge into you when you tackle them. After you make sure that your mouth is clamped down tight, then get a steady stance and get close enough to the ally to be able to leap at it and tackle it with all your might. Wrap your arms and legs around it and hold on for dear life. The ally will usually begin to spin very rapidly and may rise up into the air, all the while sending jolts of electrical current into your body. Don't let go, or you could fall to your death or serious injury. Once the energy exchange is complete, the wrestling match will be over. You will have a lifelong companion, and who knows what kind of relation could develop. According to folklore, there are way more differences between inorganic beings than there are between organic ones. As I mentioned earlier, there are ways to increase the chance you get a helpful ally, one which matches your energy better. One way is to open a portal. Engaging with an ally is dangerous enough. Opening a portal is even more dangerous. This technique is recommended to be done with a partner for safety. The idea is that one person is seeking an ally, and the other person is participating, yet focusing on the situation to prevent a trance from going too far. To open a portal, you must submerge a shiny object, like a mirror, into a shallow depth of water. A stream is more ideal for this. Empty all thoughts and gaze into the mirror. Let the fluidity of the water exert pressure on your awareness and the awareness of your partner. Face each other, holding the mirror from underneath while squatting, sitting, or kneeling. Remember that the portal can go both ways, and you don't want to get sucked in by the magnetic power of their world. You would not likely find your way back. If you feel you are being sucked in by the portal, or are being enveloped by a force, then roll your eyes clockwise over and over to break the spell. This is where your partner comes in. They have to be on the lookout for you and remind you to roll your eyes if they feel it's going too far. Do not stare at your eyes in the mirror or at your partner's eyes. Let your gaze wander without focusing. After you relax and clear your minds, you may notice a dark shape appear. If it likes what it sees, it may try to come through the portal. Be calm. Do not show fear or surprise. The secret is not to fear them. A person has to send out an intent of power and abandon. Encode to them in a silent message of intent. I don't fear you. Come see me. If you do, I will welcome you. That should be your message and intent. Allies are slow, and it may take a few tries at this before you see one. After you relax and clear your minds, you may notice a dark shape appear. If it likes what it sees, it may try to come through the portal. Be calm. Do not show fear or surprise. The secret is not to fear them. A person has to send out an intent of power and abandon. Encode to them in a silent message of intent. I don't fear you. Come see me. If you do, I will welcome you. That should be your message and intent. Allies are slow, and it may take a few tries at this before you see one. If you want the ally to come to the portal, then drop the mirror when you feel a tug, and it will push its projection through the portal. Then get ready to tackle it and exchange energy. However, if you feel it's not the right time and you want to back out, then tip the mirror sideways, pull it up out of the water, and leave. Another way to find a suitable and useful ally is through lucid dreaming. Once a person becomes proficient at lucid dreaming, allies can sense that distinctive energy charge, and they will come to you like fish to bait. It may take some time for them to notice you because their awareness is very slow. Be patient, and they will show up. Inorganic beings called scouts are constantly being sent from the labyrinth of penumbra into the dreamscape to scout for prospective energetic connections. Scouts appear in a lucid dream as a strange object or being, something that doesn't belong there and strikes you as strange or weird. A scout will usually change form or do something wild in a dream once you focus on it. If you recognize it as a scout and shout at it, your intent to follow it, it will take your dreaming attention to visit the labyrinth for yourself. Inorganic beings with their superb consciousness can exert a tremendous pull on a dreamer and easily transport them into worlds beyond description. So take caution. If you do end up finding an ally in dreaming, you will also find it in reality. Whether you want to tackle it and exchange energy is up to you. I would now like to talk about a very special kind of inorganic being called the flyer.
Ooh,
The ancient shaman called it the flyer, as it can be seen more easily than other inorganic beings.
You don't want to fuck with the flyer. So this is a Flat Earth Asshole Rants here, and we're going to talk about the flyer, which is specifically about fear.
I would now like to talk about a very special kind of inorganic being called the flyer. The ancient shaman called it the flyer, as it can be seen more easily than other inorganic beings, and the flyers hop around, sort of like flying. It is not known by me whether or not they are part of the labyrinth of penumbra, or if they are in a category all to themselves. The flyer showed up on Earth eons ago, and changed the course of mankind forever. They came to Earth from the depths of the cosmos, because we are food for them, and they squeeze us mercilessly, because we are their sustenance. Just as we raise chickens in chicken coops, the flyers raise us in a human coop, so their food is always available to them. Flyers are a predator that has taken over the rule of the lives of mankind. Human beings are its prisoner. They are in a category all to themselves.
Listen carefully now.
The flyer showed up on Earth eons ago, and changed the course of mankind forever. They came to Earth from the depths of the cosmos, because we are food for them, and they squeeze us mercilessly, because we are their sustenance. Just as we raise chickens in chicken coops, the flyers raise us in a human coop, so their food is always available to them. Flyers are a predator that has taken over the rule of the lives of mankind. Human beings are its prisoners. The predator is our lord and master. It has rendered us docile, helpless, through a genius form of mind control. In order to keep us obedient and meek and weak, the predators gave us their mind, which becomes our mind. Through this mind subversion, the predators inject into the lives of human beings whatever is convenient for them. This ensures them a degree of security, that they can keep us constantly distracted with the troubles of our daily lives. The flyers can be perceived most easily during the twilight hours. If you gaze without focusing and pay close attention to the area near the corner of your eyes, you may catch a glimpse of them. They look like dark blobs or black fish that move around by leaping through the air, hopping and flopping. To see one up close is an ominous experience. Human babies are born covered from top to bottom with a glowing coat, something like a plastic cover that is adjusted tightly over their cocoon of energy. Man is the only species that has this glowing coat of awareness on the outside of their luminous cocoon, making us easy prey for the flyers. That glowing coat of awareness is what the predators consume, and that by the time a human reaches adulthood, all that is left of that glowing coat of awareness is a narrow fringe that goes from the ground to the top of the toes. That fringe permits mankind to continue living, but only barely. This narrow fringe of awareness, basically the only energy we have, is the epicenter of self-reflection, where mankind is irremediably caught. By playing on our self-reflection, which is the only point of awareness left to us, the predators create flares of awareness that they proceed to consume in a ruthless, predatory fashion. They give us inane problems that force those flares of awareness to rise, and in this manner, they keep us alive, in order for them to be fed with the energetic flare of our daily pseudo-concerns. I think you get the picture.
Fuck.
The thought of being constantly fed upon, and that our own thoughts are put there by an alien force, is a very jagged pill to swallow. But there is a way to overcome this predator, which has stolen our magical heritage, and that's discipline. Discipline makes our glowing code of awareness unpalatable to the predator. By discipline, I mean specifically the discipline of inner silence. The monkey mind, constantly chattering in our head, is not our own. If we practice inner silence and make the monkey shut up, we become inedible to the predator. Discipline of inner silence.
Listen, listen, listen.
The monkey mind, constantly chattering in our head, is not our own. If we practice inner silence and make the monkey shut up,
monkey!
We become inedible to the predator.
They can't eat us anymore.
The code of awareness eventually goes back to its rightful size. Tremendous maneuvers of perception then become a matter of course. We can drive the predator away simply by shutting off the monkey mind. Practice internal silence, my friends. Meditate. Reclaim our legendary and mythological power. It's time for a revolution of inner silence. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Wasn't that good? Wasn't that great? I hope you liked that. I'll read a couple of things off to you. The Art of Worldly Wisdom. Really, really good stuff. I hope you enjoyed that about energetic vampires and inorganic beings and controlled folly. I hope you enjoyed that. How about this? How about... Alright, how about don't be tiresome. Don't have only one theme, one obsession. Brevity is pleasant and flattering, and it gets more done. It gains in courtesy what it loses in curtness. Good things, if brief, twice good. Badness, if short, isn't so bad. Quintessessences work better than farangos. Everyone knows that a tall person is rarely an intelligent one, but it's better to be tall in stature than long in conversation. Some people are better at disturbing than adorning the universe. Useless trinkets shunned by all. The discreet person should avoid tiring others, especially the great, who are very busy. It would be worse to irritate one of them than the rest of the world. Well said is quickly said. Just say it quickly. Well said is quickly said. It's like, dude, I don't want to listen to your shitty long stories. Fucking boring. How do you guys doing? Reality and appearance. Things pass for what they seem, not for what they are. Only rarely do people look into them, and many are satisfied with appearances. It isn't enough to be right if your face looks malicious and wrong. Make your reputation and keep it. We enjoy it on loan from fame. It is expensive, for it is born from eminence, which is rare as mediocrity is common. Once attained, it is easily kept. It confers many an obligation, performs many a deed. It is a sort of majesty when it turns into veneration, through the sublimity of its origin and sphere of action. Reputations based on substance are the ones that have always endured. Yeah, you might want to actually have some substance and not just be full of bullshit. A man free of deceit and illusion, one who is virtuous and wise, a courtly philosopher. But do not be so only in appearance, or flaunt your virtue. Philosophy is no longer revered, although it is the chief pursuit of the wise. The science of prudence is no longer venerated. Seneca introduced it to Rome, and for a time it appealed to the noble, but now it is considered useless and bothersome. And yet freeing oneself from deceit has always been food for prudence, and one of the delights of the righteousness. Half of the world is laughing at the other half, and folly rules over all. Either everything is good or everything is bad, depending on how you look at it. What one person pursues, another shuns. It is an insufferable fool who measures all things by his own opinion. Perfection does not mean pleasing one person alone. Tastes are as abundant as faces and just as varied. There's no defect that someone does not value, and you need not lower your opinion because a thing doesn't please some people. There will be others to appreciate it, and their applause in turn will be condemned. The norm of true satisfaction is the approval of renowned people who know how to judge each class of things. One does not live by following one opinion, one custom, or one century. I like that. I like that a lot.
The rest of our which you see here, is, according to the preface, consisted of a series of fragments, which each group of that we had memorized, but I must Brother, I think you must clarify. This evening, we have an interesting subject this morning that we all, well, we have a very intriguing.
Four factors of consciousness. Yeah. Oh boy. See. All right, this will get started in a second. Come on. Refresh. There you go. Now refresh. There you go. And play. Yeah. You go. Refresh. Come on. Come on. Refresh. See you later. Good times for all. What's up, Elliot Hall? Oh, that's pretty cool. Good times for all. Peace out, dude. There we go. Finally. Come on. Almost there. Good grief. Shit really knows how to fucking take forever. Finally.
So this morning's teaching is going to kind of help us just evaluate. Help us just find some of those edges that we can, again, nothing I share with you want you to use against you. And slowly over time, I watch ego use it as a weapon, and then I create more. And this is the game I play. So my intention is, I want to give you some very clarified teachings today. My intention, my invitation is, let's use this to shine the light of awareness. Let's use this to see where we can grow. But please, my deepest intention is, let us not use this against ourselves. We don't have to feel bad. We can just become better. For me in my life, that was always an inherent philosophy of, I don't have to feel bad about anything that I've done. I can just, in the next moment, try again. I just try again. And I just try to do better. And in my life, there are certain things that I've done really well. There are certain things I've learned to do better. And there are certain things I had to do 1,000 times before I perfected it. And I never stopped until I got it right. So this morning's teaching, which may elicit the oohs and ahs,
Alright, let's try this one more time.
So this morning's teaching, which may elicit the oohs and ahs, is one by one, looking at the Let's call them 4 factors. The 4 factors that help you determine how unconscious or conscious you are. 4 factors, and they came to us here. They came to me this morning. 4 factors of how conscious or unconscious you are. And again, no labels, no need to, but just to go, oh, that might be where I should work. And I'll do them one at a time. So we can all, for those of us take notes. Because here's the thing, if we don't define the factors that define unconsciousness or consciousness, as sensitive beings, you basically walk around assuming you're unconscious. Like yesterday when I talked about the dream or the illusion. You assume you're in one. We talked about it being the dream of blame, unconsciousness. So these 4 factors will determine how deeply you're in the dream of blame or how far away from the dream of blame you become. And for a lot of us, we're going to go, wow, I've grown a lot. And that's my hope is for you to say that. And if there are points where you go, and that's a growing edge for me, that's good too. We're here to learn how to feel good about the work we've already done, and we're here to learn what work remains. Because we're here to do the work. And we're here to enjoy the work, not be intimidated by the work, and not to rush through the work. Mastery is not how much work you've done, but how honorably you do the work at hand. So my intention is to teach you and escort you through doing work honorably. Right? Not like you have homework and you flip to the back of the book and you write all the answers down and I'm done. Actually doing the work. So factor number 1, to help us determine how unconscious it may be. Now, when I talk about this, it not only will help you understand how conscious or unconscious you might be, but also help you understand where other people in your life might be, partner, family, friends, whatever. Because if you can understand someone's state of consciousness, it doesn't hurt so bad when they act the way they act. So this is not just for you, it's like understanding relationships. The emotional journey is about understanding relationships. Let's just deconstruct this. Factor number 1. Unconsciousness begins with asking yourself this one hilarious question. How quickly or easily do you become agitated? Because what I have noticed is that I have worked with beings at a variety of levels of consciousness. Beings that have woken up on certain levels, but not worked through their emotional density on another level. And especially when you wake up out of identity and you think, oh, I'm not the body. You try to disown the emotional density that is your course of mastery. And when you have disowned your emotional density and you are in some sort of state of presence, that's not liberation, that's actually a state of disassociation. And what's amazing is that the qualities of awakened consciousness and the descriptions of disassociation are like next door neighbors. They're very close. And what I've seen, and I'm saying this as just an offering, an observation, that I have seen beings with very sacred Sanskrit names, dressed to the nines in the holiest of holies garb, mala beads like they're the Mr. T of spirituality. An entire crystal store on their being. And what I watch is the speed at which they go from 0 to agitation. That's where the wolf exposes itself in sheep's clothing. How quickly or easily do you become agitated? It's hard not to make awakened consciousness an aspiration. But I speak to you from experience. I've had a lot of healing over the last 6 months, and it's made me more bulletproof than I already was. I become more and more, and you get to a certain space, I'm just speaking from experience. And it's hard when I say this not to like salivate and want this. But there's a certain point where you become completely immovable. You cannot be disrupted by life. And you're not in a defensive state. You're in a completely surrendered state. You're too close to life for life to even touch you. There's too much understanding for anyone to disrupt you. It's not like you learn how to not be agitated. You actually forget what it is to be agitated. You forget what it's like to be disrupted by someone else's subjective experience. Someone has a problem with you, it's actually curious. You got kind of interested, like you're talking about someone else. If someone had a problem with me, I'd love to hear more about that. A couple years ago, when we were getting started, Julie called me one day and said, "Matt, there's someone on YouTube who is blasting you in the comment section." And I said, "Can you ask him to elaborate on that? I'd love to know more." Imagine someone's problem with you being interesting to you. I'd love to hear more about that. How quickly or easily do you get agitated? Or in human terms, how easily or effortlessly do you flip the fuck out? You're in an elevator and it stops and the doors don't open immediately. Oh no. It's even more amazing when you see a spiritual ego, which I've also called a spiritual narcissist, who has learned some degree of mindfulness. I saw this at an event I was at one time before I started teaching, and I didn't know what I was seeing. It amazed me. And I was seeing a spiritual narcissist who had learned about mindfulness. And what this means is that the person is pointing out other people's lack of mindfulness in an unmindful way. So there was a line of people leaving the sanctuary because I was at someone else's retreat, at a chanting retreat. And the one person was talking to someone else and the line wasn't moving to this person's desired great state. And mindful spiritual narcissist said, "Do you mind? There's other people here," while not being mindful of someone else's experience. How amazing that can be, how can that be missed? That was me. Thank you, thank you. I might have to go for it. Thank you. But see, now the stage fright, see, what do I? So how quickly or easily do you get agitated? Let's just even make it more true to you right now. And again, it's not a judgment, it's just an evaluation. Just for one moment, think about the character in your current life. Who agitates you? Who gets you? In other words, name your antichrist. Who gets you? And whoever that is, visualize their face in your heart and you always say to them, "Thank you. Thank you for helping me move further out of unconsciousness, away from blame, turning my problem back into a process. Thank you. Thank you for being ruthlessly ridiculous." Right? Who's the one person who doesn't play by any rule you subscribe to? Who turns your spiritual reality into a free-for-all? Who gets you? Who's that one person where for whatever reason, or maybe if you're able to come on, light some candles, and some incense, do some of your spiritual stretches, this too shall pass, so it is, and so forth. I am that I am. And then there's that person that comes along and just like, "Ooh, damn it. What fucking person right there? That person right there." All right, so here's the deal. I don't get agitated, but I'll just be honest. Here's as close as I get to being agitated. I'm just being honest about it. I'm not afraid. When you're awake, being a person and saying these things is a joy, because you know yourself. I don't get agitated, but you know what I have? I have one or two pet peeves. I do. And you know what? You know what I think about my pet peeves? They're fucking delicious. And when someone does this, it doesn't make me mad, it makes me laugh. That's as far as it goes now. I have a pet peeve from an individual, divine in an individual form, and I'm allowed to have a pet peeve. I'll tell you what else I'm allowed to have. You know what I'm allowed to have? I'm allowed to have one fear. One childhood fear that's still there. I'm going to stay with samadhi, all is one, I am that I am, and if a bee buzzes by me, I'm going to do the flash dance. Do you know why? Because it might get me. He'll go, "But Matt, nothing can touch consciousness." Yeah, well, bees have stingers. So I don't know how many pet peeves I have, to be honest. I don't think I have many.
I know I have one specific one. And it's just one of those things where you go, right? Oh my God, oh my God. It almost like when you're in your content, it just kind of tickles your stomach a little bit. and I was reminded of that because it actually happened at the hotel last night. And it's just the littlest thing that makes you go. So, and you're going to get off the elevator. Now, there's people that are going to get on the elevator, but they're trying to get on the elevator before you get off. I fucking hate that. You know what's even worse? They're trying to get on. They're not letting you off because they want to get on. And as they're turning to swoosh by you, they say, "Excuse me. Or am I in your way? Sorry, I have the right of way. You have the yield position. I was here first. I get off because I have arrived to the floor you are already on. So let me off, and then you have all this space to enter." And even if they get on first, they can't go down until I get off. What's the advantage? What time are you saving? It doesn't agitate me. It just makes me kind of just. All right, you know what my other pet peeve is? Why not, right? Laughter helps us to loosen the emotions need to be healed. My second pet peeve, and this is something that I just philosophically do not resonate with. One day, I went to the grocery store, and I saw that I could either stand in line to be checked out, or I could do this thing called self-check, where I would take on the role of someone that works at a grocery store. And I can look up the codes of my vegetables, and I can do it all myself. I don't like that. I will stand in line and wait for someone to check me out for 25 minutes. And there can be no one in line for self-check. I will not do that. I despise that. And it's funny. It's funny. It's a little quirk. You know what I mean? It's okay to have quirks. You can have quirks. Be a human being. Doesn't have to agitate you. I say this to give you the space to be who you are. Is there anything that agitates you? What is able to agitate you? Who agitates you? And whoever agitates you, whatever agitates you, and I said thank you to self-check many times, while rejecting it totally, I would rather risk my frozen foods defrosting in line and drive across traffic at lightning speed to get it in my freezer than do that. I did self-check once, and it was as bad as I thought. I scanned the things, and the system says, "Wait for assistance." Why should I be in line? And she goes, "Is there a problem?" I said, "Yes, there's a problem." She goes, "What?" I said, "The problem is I don't work here." I don't know how this works. So we have to look up the code. I go, "Do you know why you know that? Because you've been trained." Ma'am, do I invite you on my stage and lead a meditation? No, I don't. Why are you asking me to do this? I don't know how to do it. So funny. Standing like a girl with my beautiful wife. She goes, "Oh, honey, do you want to self-check?" Sure don't. Sure don't, honey. I'm going to stand right here. Rather stand and do a meditation. Factor number one, how quickly or easily do you get agitated? That's the first way of checking unconsciousness. Factor number two, how genuinely do you receive compliments? When a compliment comes your way, do you allow yourself to receive it graciously, or do you swat it like a fly's in your face? There's nothing stranger than secretly wanting people to see you and then politely rejecting the feedback they give you. Oh, you look nice today. Usually when we reject a compliment, it's not even a word, just a sound. It's usually, and the sound basically means I don't know what to do with that. I'm waiting for my starring role, but I don't handle the spotlight when it comes so unexpectedly. I talked yesterday about how I used to do that, secretly want to be seen, and I said people would give me the feedback, and then I do the whole spiritual mumbo jumbo, oh, you know, we're all one, I'm just reflecting your light back to you, which sounds awesome, but how it was used in my reality was ridiculous. Because what happens is when you receive a compliment, the light of a compliment is like a spiritual missile deconstructing and dissolving all the barriers that you yield to shield your heart from life. So a compliment is trying to destroy your hiding spot and bring you out of hiding. So we want the compliment, but we don't want it to destroy our secret base, our hidden lair. It's like we want to be in our secret underground bunker. We want someone to put a Valentine card down by there. We want to be able to come out of the hole, get it, and go back down and read it in secrecy. But when a compliment comes your way, you don't get that luxury. A compliment is a missile coming to destroy that underground bunker. It's someone going, hey, you're beautiful and amazing and worthwhile. And you're like, oh my God, I'm totally not ready for this. You're never ready for it. You're never ready for it. Here's a really interesting.
Where this rates here? Where this rates here?
For the words that matter most to your heart. You're never ready. Never ready. You can wake up early, take a run around the block, do some stretches, get ready. My baby's gonna wake up in a few minutes and I'm ready for this. You're never ready for the words that matter most to your heart because we have to learn how to take it. A lot of us know how to give it, we don't know how to take it. We don't know how to be seen. Makes us feel wiggly. And if you don't know how to be seen, someone's compliment to you will actually feel like work or feel exhausting. I don't know how to take all of that in. It doesn't match the things I say about myself to myself. Because a compliment is the light of consciousness actually trying to open your eyes to who you really are by destroying the barriers and shields you use to divide yourself with life. A compliment, just like any form of intimacy, is an opportunity to be liberated by being destroyed by love. Let love destroy your barriers. Let love pull you out of hiding by obliterating the things you're hiding behind. A compliment is an assassination attempt to the inferior ego structure. To the ego, the complimenter feels like an assassin. Sometimes it's not even just a compliment that we don't know how to take. We don't know how to take eye contact. On the spiritual path, one of a very popular practice is eye gazing. And it's a beautiful thing where we connect our legs together. But sometimes what happens is the eye gazing is a way of actually checking out of the personal connection. Like we look, we trance out, and we checked out. Because you don't actually how to be on the receiving end of someone's gaze, to be seen for that amount of time without feeling like, okay, that's enough, that's uncomfortable. Because eye contact and compliments is an assassination attempt on the inferior ego. It's a gift for the soul, and it's panic, and it's concern, and it's worrisome for the part of you that's not going to make the journey, that's holding on for dear life. So factor number 2, how genuinely do you receive compliments? Because it's kind of weird to think that sometimes it's easier to give compliments than it is to receive compliments. And the reason it is because we've been taught in our families, whether directly or indirectly, that love is something we have to earn. So we learn how to give because we're trying to receive, we're trying to earn something back. But it's kind of like a little kid who runs towards the ocean, and when the ocean actually starts to come back, the child runs away. Like, hey, I want to know the ocean. And the ocean goes, oh yeah? Oh, no. That's when we play with our loved ones. Ooh, I want to know you. I want to look at the ocean. Ooh, give me some of that. Really? Okay. Oh, we seek love and then run away from the love that we sought. You ever had that experience? Maybe in yourself or others? You run towards love. Here's the one. Oh shit, I got to receive that. See you later. Sooner or later, the ocean gets you. One of those attempts to turn around and the little child trips on the sand and is soaked by the water and swept into the current of truth. No one inherently has a fear of intimacy. Fears of intimacy is what always exists when the ego is letting go of its last grip. Everyone goes through the fear of intimacy. Everyone. Because fear of intimacy is when you know you are in the presence of the one you can be loved and truly love. You love by and love. And that ego says, this is going to destroy me. And if you're insightful, you'll allow it. You'll allow your beloved to be your assassin. That's what I do. I allow my beloved to be my assassin. And I'm better because of it. Thank you. In the fear of intimacy, which is the ego's last stand, the ego is afraid of losing its identity of object consciousness and is afraid of merging with another. But when love is present, both individuals lose themselves in the same meeting point, which is the merging of unity consciousness. It doesn't mean you live without an identity. It doesn't mean you live without an awareness of your personal needs. It means in the presence of the one that you can truly be loved by, you will feel like you're getting sucked out of yourself and into them. And to resist that is the fear of intimacy that keeps the ego structure alive. And when you can let go and totally lose yourself in another and they lose themselves in you, here's the interesting thing that happens. Both people get sucked out of themselves and meet in a point of oneness. As soon as that connection happens, they both are brought back to their individual structures to be individuals, to hold space for themselves, and also being able to be connected as one with each other simultaneously. So it's actually an initiation. When the initiation is happening, you are being pulled out of yourself and you are losing yourself. You feel like you're being flushed down the toilet of the universe. And you have no idea where you're going. You're being sucked into the heart of your beloved and your beloved's being sucked into your heart. And it feels like you're dying. It feels like you're losing your grip on reality. And as soon as that moment of connection happens, the circle's complete. And then the two that are one, then are individual aspects of the same one. And they can have their individual needs, but they can actually dance and harmonize together. They can be individuals, they can be one, and it's no longer this back and forth of, I'm in my individual reality and I'm sharing space with another. Oh, if it's too much time, I gotta then hide and recharge, and it's not this dance. And whether you're in a relationship or not, that meeting of you being pulled out of yourself and connecting with reality, truth, is you becoming one with present moment reality. And then it's no longer, I'm in present moment reality. Oh my God, I've been in now for too long. I gotta go hide and be in an isolated space. So it's not this back and forth. So whether you're in a relationship or not, it's the same metaphor. Does that make sense? And I say this because years ago, I got sucked out of myself. I got pulled out of myself and I was pulled into the light of truth. And it was like plunging into a black hole. And I plunged deep into nothingness until nothing was there. It was such nothingness that not even anyone was falling anymore. And all of a sudden, out of nothing, the light emerged. And that was the moment of communion. And then I was put right back in my individual structure, where I was able to connect with the oneness within all beings, whether they can meet me there or not. But I had to get pulled out of myself to be returned to myself. I had to take the wave out just to see that the wave would change its current and take me back into the shore. The current that pulled you out will bring you back, better and reborn. There's a difference between what I'm describing and making other people's needs more important than yours. That's different. The unhealthy losing yourself is when you are serving someone else's needs by disregarding your needs. That's what I did most of my life. Because I wasn't trained how to pay attention to my needs. Occupied with other people's feelings. And because I could feel their feelings, all I knew is if I could change how they felt, it would change how I felt. And I was living in a reality of vibration codependency. And so I had to learn how to make my feelings matter. And to articulate those feelings in a way where I wasn't worried about the people I was sharing it with and whether it would cause them to leave me or abandon me. I had to face my own feelings of abandonment. But I didn't even know we're there. Factor number one, how quickly or easily can you become agitated? Factor number two, how genuinely do you receive compliments? Factor number three, how generously do you give to those you love? Because when you've merged with the light of consciousness, you can give to those you love in a way that doesn't exhaust you. You can actually be replenished by the vibration of your generosity. And just by receiving the opportunity to give to someone you love, you can be filled up no matter how what you give is received. So if factor number three on how conscious or unconscious we are is how openly we give to those we love, let's talk about what it means to give. What are the aspects that go into giving? And I'm going to talk about a very interesting word. You know, in the spiritual journey, people talk about being present. That's a lovely word. But at this point, it kind of becomes a very overstated buzzword. We have to deconstruct or unpack it. There's what I think is an even more poignant word, that is the activity of presence. Not are you present or not. Because often if you're asking yourself that question, you're in your head and you're not in the present moment. So what's the activity of presence? It's one delicious, clarifying word. It's called interest. Interest. If you're in a relationship, and relationships, like I said, is family, friends, or beloveds, neighbors, coworkers, whatever. You decide where the light needs to go. But if the question is, how present are you with your relationships? Here's the question. How interested are you in the experiences of those people? Are you only interested in the subject matters that personally interest you? Or whether they're interested in something that doesn't quite jive with you, are you interested in watching someone you love express what they're passionate about? How interested are you in being a part of another person's passion? How delicious of a question is that? How interested are you in being a part of another person's passion? And how many of us want people to ask us questions to take a greater interest in us? Are we the people that take a greater interest in those we yearn to be validated by? And one of the things that makes it so difficult is, God forbid, you have people in your family that are not quite as hopped up on the spiritual path as you are. And if the spiritual path is an extension of your ego structure, you will think the people that don't take an interest in my spiritual path must not be interested in me. The people that are not interested in your spiritual path have the potential to be interested in your personal life. And if your spiritual path is a replacement for your personal life, that imbalance will make you think someone doesn't care about you. So I say, have spiritual aspirations, have personal interests, to give everyone an equal opportunity to share in your passion. So on a personal level, I enjoy cooking, I watch the Food Network, I love music, documentaries, professional wrestling, and UFC. And someone who may not give a crap about my spiritual path and my offerings to this planet can talk to me about so many other things. And I'm someone who naturally is interested in whatever people are passionate about. And if it's something I know the least about, the more interested I become. When you're an awake being, you are thankful that you have people in your life to whom you can be interested in their passions. They are the ocean, and you are the observer, and you are thankful that you have the opportunity to ride waves of passion in their world of interest. And when two come together in sacred communion, they don't have to be similar on any level, but only have the common interest of being mutually interested in sharing in the passions of the one they love. And so many times, I remember I had a dialogue once, and I was talking with a woman who was married to a man who didn't have a spiritual aspiration on his body. And her complaint was, he never asks me about my meditation. And I asked her a funny question. I said, did you ask him who won the game? She says, oh, I'm not into that. Well, in his mind, you're not into him. Just like in her mind, him not asking about the meditation means he's not into her. If you're an awake being, you don't let the fact that you may not give a shit about a subject matter to keep you from being interested in someone's passion. You don't care about organized sports? Besides the point. Someone you love is. Honey, who won? What was your favorite play? What was the best moment of the game? Even if you're with someone who is happy when a rival loses, and that makes you feel like that is the most unconscious thing in the world. How many did the enemies lose? How many players did we injure? But honey, did we injure them to the degree where they're unable to even work in the NFL ever again? I'm joking, but you see what I'm saying. You actually step into someone else's world and say, I'd like to be a part of your passion. You don't have to be passionate about what they're passionate about. You just have to say, I want to be a part of your passion. Because one of the tenets of consciousness is answering the question, how openly do you give to those you love? Now, if you are firing on all cylinders, the question becomes, how openly do you give, period? But the problem with that question is that most of us who are spiritually waking up but still have a lot of emotional density work too hard to be all things to all people. So I don't want you right now on day 2 to look any further than the people that matter most to you. Master this with people who matter most, and then we'll broaden it over time. Does that make sense? Right? A lot of us go, I'm going to be unconditionally loving to every single human being in existence. Well, let's just pump the brakes on that a little bit. Right? There's a play called life. We all get to decide which character we're going to play. And the overzealous spiritual being goes, I can be anyone. I know. I'm going to be Jesus Christ. I'm going to be Mother Teresa. How about just fully present with your partner? Can we start there? Maybe step number 1 isn't the liberator of all beings? Maybe just a deeper interest in your partner's aspirations? Now I'm going to put her on the spot. You know one of the things I love about my life? Countless lessons to start. So one of the things I love to watch is UFC, professional wrestling. And one of the things my wife likes to do in her own downtime is read a book on a Kindle. When I'm watching wrestling, she comes down and joins me, and we talk about the wrestling for a second, but she's just reading a book, and she just wants to be in the same space with me. That blasts my heart open. It means the world to me. That for me is a moment of intimacy. That we get to enjoy ourselves together. Thank you. How openly do you give to those you love? And that doesn't mean that you don't have the right to have your own personal downtime. You should. You should have your own personal downtime. I'm just saying when it's time to be with your partner or your family or people that you choose to be around, right? I'm not saying the family you think you have to be around, or the family you feel guilty if you're not around them, right? You have that going on. I'm defining your inner circle. Let's create a phrase, inner circle. Inner circle are the people you want to be around. People you want to be around. I'm not saying have no downtime and always be in your field. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when it's time to be around the people you want to be around, how openly do you give? And what are we giving? The gift of interest. That's what presence is, interest. What is a short attention span? I don't know how to be interested for long periods of time. Most people in the world don't know how to be interested in others for longer periods of time, and they go back to their own self-interest. They step out for a second, oh my God, nothing you're saying is feeding me, bye-bye. You ever in a conversation, someone asks you a question, and you start to talk, and they go, oh my God, that reminds me of something else, back to you. Back to you, that's so cool. A short attention span means I have been trained to be more interested in my own self-interest and don't know how to be equally interested in others. Presence is when we are equally interested in ourselves as we are in others. That's balance. And even when your partner has something to share with you and you're not quite in that space, presence will say, you can say to your partner, honey, I would love to hear everything you have to say. I'm not quite in that space. We'll talk about this later. Do you know what we call that? Something I never had as a child. I was never given this. It's called a boundary. I was never given a boundary. And I was trained by my parents, God bless them, mostly my mother, God bless her soul, that to be loved is to be smothered. I was never given boundaries. So I never knew the benefit of that. I never knew how to stop and go, am I actually in a space where I'm the most ready, willing, and able to receive what someone needs to share with me? I never gave myself the right to consider that. It was always, someone needs me. My feelings don't matter. So when we're in a really conscious relationship, you're able to have time for yourself, and when it's time to be with your partner, you can totally be together. They're interested in you, you're interested in them, for the time you are dedicated to one another. You both have time to do your own thing, and you have time to come together, merge together, and to lose yourself in a moment that will only return you back to yourself more whole and aligned than ever before. And in awakening, we're developing this primal trust, the trust the ego doesn't have, which is if you get sucked out of yourself into someone's heart, you're going to be returned back to yourself better than ever before. And you want to get pulled out of yourself and brought right back. Can you trust that? A lot of people can't. Which is why they step out of themselves, take a little bit of interest, and in the moment someone else's interest starts to pull them into the light, they go, too much. And that's not a judgment. That's something we all go through in what's called the ego's last stand. So factor number 3, how openly do you give to those you love? Factor number 4. And I say it slowly because I'm trying to remember it. Factor number 4, how deeply do you respect the space of someone else's process? When people are in emotional process, when people are growing, they need space to be with themselves. It's one thing to say, I can hold space for someone, but what happens when someone says, well, in order for me to really be where I need to only be in the space with myself. It's one thing to say, I can be with you, honey, through anything. And then your honey says, well, what I need from you is to be here while I'm over there. How deeply do you respect the space of someone else's process? This is something that I had to learn in the latter years of my life, because I was never given, my space was never respected in my earlier years. My mom, God bless her soul, and again, when she passed, and for the majority of my adult life, at the latter years of my mom's life, we were on the best of terms. I actually became the spiritual teacher with both my parents. My parents were lovely people, just conditioned, and I was just as much of a victim of their ego as they were. No malice, I helped them both lose their body, and they're doing great. Talk to me in the afterlife all the time. I do. My mom even said to me 4 days ago, she came to me when I was walking through a mall. She said, you know, thank you for everything that you put up with and everything that we learned in the afterlife. Your father and I have both learned what we didn't see back then. And my mom said to me, never feel bad about sharing on stage what happened, because when you talk about what you learned and grown from and other people benefit, it gives our souls greater purpose for the roles we play. So I was never given space as a kid. My mom played a game with me, and she was playing this is a game her father played with her. And the game was, I'm going to do everything for you and go above and beyond. And the moment I need something, you don't have a choice. And I'm going to throw it in your face, and you're going to feel bad. I'm going to break you down so you give me what I want. I never had space. I just learned to get comfortable burning in the fire of no space. I learned to be the space within the space. And that is really, really a great talent until you get into a really functional relationship. So I had to learn real quickly. I had to learn what a boundary was. And I had to learn that someone else's boundary doesn't mean it's taking away from me. I had to learn that someone else taking space for themselves doesn't mean I'm being abandoned or that I'm not good enough. It's what I had to learn. Because factor number 3 says, how often would you give to the people you love, right? How often would you give? The balance of that, how deeply do you respect the space of someone else's process? Give, and then someone says, okay, that's enough.